Looks like I just got an email from Miriam too that she can't connect.
I was just in. She's in.
Oh, it looks like she's in.
Yeah, Marion, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, but I can't connect the picture.
Oh,
No.
if you don't mind, we don't need the video. I wish I couldn't connect my video.
Passengers traveling American Airlines bus 6580.
Heather, you might want to mute yourself.
We are currently boarding through gateway number 14. All passengers, please make your way through security.
That was weird though. Maybe that what happens to me happens to Marion. I just lost everything. I could hear you talking, but my screen was gone. I'm back now, but I don't know why that happened. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. I don't know why it happened either.
Yeah,
I could hear you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, can everybody see the agenda?
Yes.
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 right.
Looks like we have about 3 minutes or so before we start. I don't see Jason or Rebecca yet.
Yeah.
Jason says he's online. I'm not sure what that means because I just texted both of them.
I don't know what that means either.
Jason who?
Goldstrand?
I don't see him as an attendee on here. Oh, he's in here. Jason Goldsternborn. He's in here. He's just not, he's muted and his camera's off.
Okay, but he's there. Okay. And Rebecca said she's zooming in, so I don't know if she's there or not yet. Hi, Jason.
Hello.
Should I wait for Rebecca?
I am here. I'm here.
Oh, yay, Rebecca.
We're
Hi.
all good. Let's go.
Okay, excellent then. All right, we'll call the meeting to order and we can recite the pledge.
Hold on, let me pull up the pledge.
Okay.
maybe. I'm gonna do my very best. If not, we're all gonna have it in our minds. All right, are we good? Can everybody
Yep.
see a flag?
Yes,
Yes.
there is.
Like we have to stand, right?
Yep.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of
to
America,
America,
and to
and
the
to the
republic
republic for which
for
it
which
stands,
it
And
one nation,
under
under God,
God,
indivisible,
stands,
with liberty
with
and
liberty
justice.
and justice for all. Okay,
Okay, Miriam, if you could take roll call, please.
roll call.
Please.
Ann Catrillo,
Here.
Rebecca Bear,
I see her, but she's on mute.
I'm present, sorry.
Debbie Kulik,
Present.
Jason Goldstrand.
Present.
Thank you. Okay, if we move on, I need a motion to adopt the agenda for February 6th with members of the committee reserving the right to add to the agenda and take further action in the district's best interest.
So move, Debbie.
Second, Jason.
Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the January 6th, 2025 meeting minutes.
So move, Debbie.
Second.
Any discussion on that?
You
All
guys
in-
are too fast for me.
Mhm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we'll move then to our items for discussion. First up is Mrs. Trinae Laurie with our B Alliance update.
Turn right onto Station
Hello,
9.
everyone, and happy snow day today, and hello, February. It's good to see you all this evening on Zoom. It's been a while since I've been on Zoom for EPR. So
Use the
brings
right
back
lane
some
to turn left
memory-
on University Avenue.
What's that?
I have to, let me see if I can mute,
She's muted now. Good.
okay, thank you. All right, Trinae, you're good.
Yeah, I can do that, but I wasn't sure what it was. All right, so February, I have our observances for February and just some announcements and things that we've done throughout the month of January that I'd like to share as well. February is the month-long observance is Black History Month, and it is an annual celebration of achievements by African Americans and a time for recognizing their central role in U.S. history. Also known as African American History Month, the event grew out of Negro History Week, the brainchild of the noted historian Carter G. Woodson and other prominent African Americans. On February 12th is Makabucha Day. It is a religious celebration marking the Lord Buddha's teaching to his disciples. As with most Thai religious holidays, Makabucha is celebrated according to the traditional lunar calendar on the day of the full moon of the third lunar month. Though specific dates vary, the event usually takes place in February or March, and this Makabucha Day falls on February 12th. February 12th and 13th is Tu B'Shvat Shabbat, the Jewish New Year of the Trees, which is observed on the 15th day of the Hebrew month of Shabbat. It is not mentioned in the Torah, Tu B'Shvat Shabbat, but scholars believe that the holiday was originally an agricultural festival corresponding to the beginning of spring in Israel. But a critical historical event helped Tu B'Shvat Shabbat evolve from a simple celebration of spring to a commemoration of the connection to the land of Israel. February 17th is President's Day. February 20th is World Social Justice Day, which is observed on the 20th of February to commemorate and urge all efforts to combat unemployment, social exclusion, and poverty. The United Nations General Assembly recognizes the social development and social justice are indispensable for the achievement and maintenance of peace and security within among nations, and that in turn social development and social justice cannot be attained in the absence of peace and security or in the absence of respect for all human rights and fundamental freedoms. February 21st is International Mother Language Day. Languages are essential to education and sustainable development, serving as the primary means through which knowledge is transferred and cultures are preserved. With approximately 8,324 languages in the world today, many are at risk of disappearing due to globalization and societal changes. Ensuring that the education system support the right to learn one's mother tongue is crucial for improving learning outcomes, as students who are taught in language they fully understand show better comprehension, engagement, and critical thinking skills. Multilingual education, particularly for minority and indigenous languages, not only helps learners but also fosters a deeper connection between education and culture, contributing to more inclusive and equitable societies. February 26th is Mahashivatari. It is a festival celebrating Lord Shiva and literally translates as the Great Night of Shiva. Worship services occur all day. However, the main pujas occur either once in the evening or 4 times that span the entire night. The festival signifies several events important to devotees. During this night, Lord Shiva, the Lord of the dance, first performed the Dance of Bliss. This dance portrays the cyclical nature of the universe, reflected by the cyclical nature of daily life as experienced by individual souls. And February 28th through March 29th is Ramadan, which is considered one of the holiest months of the year for Muslims. In Ramadan, Muslims commemorate the revelation of the Quran and fast from food and drink during the sunlit hours as a means of drawing closer to God and cultivating self-control, gratitude, compassion for those less fortunate. Ramadan is a month of intense spiritual rejuvenation with a heightened focus on devotion, during which Muslims spend extra time reading the Quran and performing special prayers. Those unable to fast, such as pregnant or nursing women, the sick or elderly, or children, are exempt from fasting. So this, along with, I sent this out the beginning of the week, and with that, I sent to staff just the article about Ramadan, given some additional instructions and some helpful ways to support students with that, because students, as of the age of puberty, do fast. There are young women, if they're menstruating, they don't fast. There's different reasons for why people don't fast, but students in our age bracket between middle school and high school may likely fast. And it's important for us to be cognizant and aware of that, of what you may see and what areas we can be more supportive of as a school community. So I did send that out to our staff this week. This past week, last Thursday, we did have a workshop series at the beginning addressing bias, which we had about 22 members from the school community to join us. It was great. We talked about the different competencies, such as reflecting on one cultural's lens and deepening your understanding of taking and addressing bias in the system. It was about 1 hour and 30 minutes. We enjoyed each other's company and learning from one another, which that deep engagement will foster great relationships within our school community as we continue to learn from one another. Our next one will be on February 20th. And we will continue forward in that series as we continue to learn about why language and words matter. So that is our next one on February 20th. We did have our coffee chat on January 17th, which was a great experience. I received great feedback from many people about that, about the journey from tolerance to belonging and how do we get there. Learning from one another and deepening our understanding of through crucial conversations is really how we get to a point of not just necessarily being tolerant of one another, even though tolerance is the beginning point. And we learn tolerance by learning to accept differences, but we want to get further than just accepting differences. We want to get to a point where we are engaging with one another and getting into that deep space of being able to be supportive of one another in the best way possible. So that's where we are. We also sent out our newsletter in January as well. So that had great resources for our school community to utilize, and we are continuing to move forward in the Be Alliance. So thank you for having me this evening.
Thanks, Trinae. Trinae, the February 20th, do we have a time for that yet?
Yes, it is 5:30 till about 6:45. So there'll be a link that'll go out prior, but the workshop series, I can send it to you again. It
Okay.
has the dates on it.
Is that on Zoom or is that a live meeting or either way?
So right now I'm doing them virtually. Once we
Okay.
get into the spring, the one in March, March could be a tricky month.
Okay.
But going into the spring months, I would like to have a hybrid option. But right now, with the weather being what it is, January and February are definitely virtual.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You're
Appreciate your
welcome. Sure, thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to dual enrollment, and that is Dr. Vitale.
All right, so I'm going to try to share my screen because I'm a visual person. Can everyone see something that says dual enrollment?
Yes.
Thank you, somebody, for answering. I appreciate it. All right. So last meeting, we came to the board with a pretty heavy price tag for dual enrollment. And I know that we'd had really long, fruitful, productive conversations about what dual enrollment, dual credit looks like within our school district. And I had shared that just my experiences are a little bit different than the experiences of that East Stroudsburg is offering our students. And we had asked the board to kind of offer us a little bit of patience as I enter the role, as we find a new assistant superintendent for district programs. And we look to really grow our dual enrollment, dual credit that doesn't have necessary an additional line item to the budget, but is fiscally responsible to our taxpayers, but also offering our students significant opportunities to get secondary, post-secondary credits to hopefully decrease, obviously, potential student loan debt or their time in college, or allow them to take more courses in college. So there's basically 3 tracks of dual enrollment. So one track is the traditional track where students leave the high school, they go to the college campus, and they take courses on campus. They attend those courses either on their own time or release time from our high schools, and then students and the family pay for that independently. The second model is the East Stroudsburg Area School District delivery model, which is where the course is aligned through a higher education entity. So we would look at our course of study, our program of studies, which we're going to have conversations about tonight. We would look at what classes align with local universities, courses, and we would offer them in our building. So this is a dual credit course because students are taking, let's say, just hypothetically, Algebra 2. So they're taking an Algebra 2 course. There could be 3 students in that course. There could be 1 student who is just taking it for high school credit. There could be another student who is taking it for dual credit, where they're taking the high school credit and the dual credit. And then there could be another student in it who doesn't need the high school graduation requirement, but is just taking it for dual credit. And because we offer that, there is no cost to the district because students have a choice of whether to engage in that or not. So in the class makeup, you have different students with different purposes in those courses. The course would be taught by an East Stroudsburg Area School District teacher or co-taught with a Northampton Community College faculty. As I said, the student receives high school graduation credit with an option for college credit at a very, very minimal rate. The third option that we have right now also is an online model, which is where students enroll in an online course that is not offered by East Stroudsburg Area School District, and they take that course either on their free time or throughout the school day. And that's more of a dual enrollment, not necessarily always a dual credit, unless they file for independent study. The middle column here of the high school delivery model is really where I want to lean into. I want to lean into having our courses aligned with higher education entity courses and having our teachers start to deliver that instruction so that all students have more access to this opportunity and there is no cost to the board. So we spoke about that. And then I want to say within 48 hours of our last EPR committee meeting, Northampton Community College reached out to me. At the federal level, they have offered grants for dual enrollment, dual credit for higher education entities. There's a very, very quick turnaround time on the grants. So we haven't had a significant amount of time to plan before that their grant is due. And basically what their grant is that it'll pay for schools, college courses. So it'll pay for our dual enrollment, our dual credit. And it's a 2-year grant and it would cover that. Northampton Community College has decided to kind of focus in 3 pathways. We are going to go down the route of 2 of the 3 pathways. So they would cover these pathways for 2 years for our students. The first pathway is education. It's what currently exists, but the difference is that they would pay those college credit courses for our students. So Although they have not received the grant yet, we are super hopeful. We might be coming back to the board in the late spring with really, really good news that the money we had allocated for that, we don't need anymore for that future educator pathway for the Northampton Community College component of it. The other pathway that they're looking at is creating an allied health pathway, which is really looking at different health professions to make sure that our high school students know that, you know, it's not just the traditional healthcare field. There's a lot more than just nursing and doctors. And to start to open that up for our students. The way both of these pathways would work is that in the fall of this coming school year, we would meet with our juniors, talk to our juniors about these pathways, and then in the spring, they would take 1 or 2 blocks of their day to start this pathway. We would need at least 12 students to go to start this pathway, but I'm really confident that we could get that. Then the following year, so their senior year, it would be the same thing. They would be taking 4 or 5 college credits per semester that would be free to our students, and it would have a dual credit where they would be getting high school credit as well as college credits for these courses. So we have an opportunity of really having our students graduate with 12 to 15 credits with no price tag to the district and honestly no price tag to the students. So right now we have a good handle on the education one. We have a soft understanding of the healthcare one. They're looking at, and this is just a sample that you're seeing in front of you, that the spring would be a college success and an introduction to health careers. Then the fall would be an introduction to nutrition and then principles of sociology. And then the spring of their senior year would be introduction to psychology and essentials of biology. Those are just samples of kind of what we were thinking. I'm presenting this to you because it came on very, very quickly. We did not have a lot of time whether to decide to move forward with it or not. We did because we don't see how we could lose in this scenario. So we might be making some adjustments to the program of study late spring, early summer, just to align with these courses so that our courses match these courses and our teachers can teach it. So as I spoke to Northampton about the difference of my experience and what we're offering in East Stroudsburg, they highlighted for me that our teachers can teach their courses and be almost adjunct professors within their university teaching on our campus during our school day if they have 18 or more graduate level courses in that discipline. And the struggle that they're finding is that a lot of our teachers at the content level, specialty secondary level, have maybe a master's in secondary education, not necessarily like a master's in English. So they're struggling to find people with those 18 credits or more. And in my conversation with Northampton was, I don't know if we've communicated this to our teachers. And I believe, and I'm going to stop sharing. So I believe that if we had this conversation with our professional staff union and our teachers, and they recognize that if they just took a few more credits, that we could widen our dual enrollment, that I believe we have teachers that were committed to that. Absolutely. And they would recognize the importance for their own learning as well as the impact it could have on our students. Well, Northampton kind of followed up with, oh, well, we could write that into our grant. And I said, oh, hold on a second. So they could do the tuition reimbursement through this grant to help support teachers getting those 18 plus graduate level credits in a specific discipline, whether it's social sciences, humanities, English specific. So that was an interesting kind of phenomenon that we found. It was a great conversation. I would say that they are very, very eager to partner with us and grow the program. So I know I had promised that by the end of the summer, I would be bringing kind of other options that will not have a cost on the 26-27 budget. But I believe that these options right now are going to decrease the funding that you approved last EPR and that we approved at the board meeting to make it more responsible for us as taxpayers and us as the district and offer a wider variety for our students. So it's still in planning, so I don't want to make any promises, but I'm really, really hopeful that this is kind of getting the ball rolling and starting kind of a different option for that dual enrollment, dual credit. Any questions or thoughts on that?
Maggie, you know you're gonna get an email from me to add to that health careers, right?
It is on there, so that allied is on there. The
No.
allied health pathway is a health pathway.
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
Okay, so I think I know what you're talking about.
I'll send you my email.
But if I can, I was speaking to Dennis from MCTI the other day, and I don't want to kind of ruin his steam or take his steam, but he is working on, in the 26-27 school year, rolling out an EMT program at MCTI.
They already have one at MCTI. I want it to be allowed to be offered in the high schools.
Right. So this is a good start to it, if that makes sense. Because it starts that pathway, and then we can grow the pathway from there.
I'll understand better when we talk.
Sounds good. Amy, you have your hand up.
Just something to add is we had the emergency first responders class at the high school. It was very successful. We had 16, 18 students enrolled in the class. Unfortunately, there were some obstacles that NCC stopped being willing to offer it to us. So we weren't given the option that we were able to continue that partnership. Originally, it stopped because of the pandemic, but when we reached out to make that an option and still pursue that, they declined coming to the high schools and offering it.
I think there's a different pathway for it, not using MCC because they don't understand teaching high school students. So that was a problem. That was probably the most complaints I have ever gotten from parents ever in my years now, was when they came to teach the classes. So I think there's a successful way to have that instruction done.
I look forward to that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Debbie. All right, so I just wanted to kind of update that. And questions?
Yeah, just if our teachers don't have the 18 credits and or it doesn't get written in, you know, that they can take the coursework there. And we have an NCC teacher coming in then to teach it, correct? At high school. What happens if the course, or I don't know if it's the exact same course, but I just happen to see sociology and psychology, obviously. And those are two courses that we teach. And our MOU with the association is that we wouldn't, you know, offer any courses that we teach here.
Which is really why I said it was a tentative schedule. So if we don't have teachers who have that 18 plus credits in that discipline, then we might change that track, because I do not want to step on what our teachers are teaching. Absolutely. We could also do a co-teaching model just for that course where both of them are instructing. So yes, we will absolutely stick with that MOU and respect kind of the work that our faculty does and not kind of divert their labor.
Are the grants, and I may have heard that wrong, are they coming from the federal government or from the state? Because the federal government now seems to have put a
I might have misspoken. I'm not 100% sure where they're coming from, but they are incredibly confident that they're going to get it.
Okay, excellent. Perfect. Thank you. It's a great option. Thank you for following through on it.
You were incredibly excited, right, Amy?
Yes, it's an awesome opportunity. They were very excited to work with us. I mean, when they wanted to get Dr. Vitale, they said they wanted her to meet with them within a week.
Yeah,
we did right away.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Amy, you're on anyway next. So perfect. Personal finance update proposal.
So if I could introduce that, if you don't mind, and I'll let Amy go right into that. And if they start squawking here, I'm going to mute myself real quick and then I'll come right back.
Sounds good.
Okay. So thank you for talking with us again about our proposed plan for implementing PDE's personal finance standards. Again, this is a follow-up to our meeting a couple months ago. We presented you with some options, and based on your feedback, we're actually now returning with a plan that we believe addresses some of your stated concerns that you had at the meeting. Specifically, we heard agreement actually around the need to implement our CEW, the Career Education Work Standards, more authentically, right? We have it parceled out differently at different high schools right now, and in subjects that aren't necessarily a clear connection. And then the second thing we heard really right loud and clear is the need for more time for our new superintendent to really learn the district's financial landscape better, to see if it can support that addition of the new staff that we had been asking for. So with this in mind, we'd like your input on two things tonight. First, the plan itself, which Ms. Polmounter is going to walk us through. And secondly, a minor consideration, but in talking with Dr. Vitale, we thought, we'd open it up for you guys to have a conversation. And that's really what weight to award the second of our two proposed courses. So when we get to that section, we can hop in and have that conversation, but we just thought it would be a good chance for you to kind of see some of the design decisions that we go through when we start to put curriculum together and be a part of that for us. So Ms. Polmounter, take it away.
Thanks, Heather.
Sounds good. I just am waiting to be able to share okay, it's working. Okay. All right. Do you guys see a colored table on the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you make it bigger, Amy?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Give me 1 second. I haven't, like Trinae said, I haven't used Zoom for this type of presentation in a while, so just getting myself set up. Okay. So we were very excited to engage in a lot of conversations after the last education committee meeting. And based on having the conversation, as Heather mentioned, hearing John and Rick really show the need for why we need to bring these courses into our classes and have certified teachers teaching the students the career readiness standards, and also kind of be the launch point for a lot of these pathways that we're talking about, like the career ones, the allied health. So we really kind of sat together and said, why wait? Like, yes, the staffing issue was a concern last time, but everybody was on the same page that personal finance is something we need to teach. We went back. Maggie had a very interesting scheduling spreadsheet that I looked at tallies for business and really kind of dug into numbers. And after reviewing everything, we realized that we could start things next year with zero cost, no staff, being able to implement a course for freshmen, which would be called Personal Finance 1. The course would focus on getting students introduced to basic age-appropriate personal finance, economics, entrepreneurship ideas, and also be able to start meeting the requirements for those career work standards that are changing over, is currently being met by our Smart Futures, and they're also being evaluated through our Future Ready standard. The nice part about this is our guidance department is 100% on board, and they're going to actually work alongside of the business teachers in order to provide their aspect of counseling and working with students and really starting to decide what they want to do post-secondary. We also had a conversation with Dave Falbo, and he went through the course that we're looking to teach, this Personal Finance 1, and 13 of the CASEL standards were also mentioned, which is our SEL component. So it takes a lot of the district initiatives that we worked so hard the last few years, and it is a nice place that we'll have a certified teacher teaching every single freshman those skills to start them off on their journey. So the other part of that was, and it was part of our stage 1 plan, is that next year, our everyday living class, instead of it being a block, we were able to reduce the credits down to a half credit course. So more students will be able to get it by simply taking out some of those career ready standards that are going to be taught in the personal finance class. So it really is looking at this incoming year that students are going to be able to, as of the class of 2029, be able to get that first level class. And then next year, we're going to put the personal finance 2 class in on their junior year, in which the rest of the personal finance information will be delivered to the student. The students will learn a lot more about credit card, loans, investments, budgets, buying a home, insurance, colleges. Our counselors will be able to go into the class and make sure the kids know what the college application process is, what the FAFSA is, everything that a student graduating needs to know, which, as all of us know, is our mission statement, giving the kids those post-secondary skills to be competitive and successful. So those 2 classes will also be able to meet within our 26 graduation credits, as our policy states. We just would look to see if next year, when we put that personal finance 2, we would have discussions on how we would be able to maybe reallocate a credit that was already there, such as the computer literacy credit, and have that turn into the personal finance. But that's another decision for another day on how we would update those graduation requirements for students. But we also have, by delaying the personal finance 2, I think part 1 is we could really do a nice job creating this course and implementation process. And 2, it gives our building principals a chance to really work alongside of Heather and Maggie with numbers and tallies and look at staffing needs to see if we do need that extra staff that we thought we needed this year, or if that staff member would be able to be allocated in another fashion. So we're really excited to be able to present this to you today. The bottom just shows the grid on how we're going to implement it. I know Heather and I, when we worked on this, we said we're both visual learners. So we both kind of drew it out to make sure that we were talking the same thing. But
Can you scroll so we can see the bottom on the screen?
absolutely.
Thank you.
But I do want to just point out, it just allocates like a 2-year plan of implementation. Next school year, highlighting the personal finance class. And then next year, our current sophomores will be receiving the personal finance 2 class. So we'll be able to wrap up a lot of those smart future lessons with them within that class. And then the following year, the class of 2029 would be able to get both the personal finance 1 and the personal finance 2, which would make us in compliance with the state and their mandate that personal finance will be offered to every student.
I saw Anne's hand go up first.
I'm going to stop sharing.
Kind of 2 questions. The first is with the artifacts. Who's going to be housing them?
So we have our Smart Future program, so that would still be the house of where the students will be completing the artifacts. It will just be supplemented with teachers doing additional instruction. So for example, one of them is a budget. So it's an activity that the student does a budget that could be used as an assessment, but the real benefit to us is all the learning that the students will do from the teacher, getting instruction or projects or however they choose to deliver the budgeting concept. So it's
You
more
really
of
answered
teaching.
you really answered my second question, because I was thinking if we were having a teacher do this and it was within a class, et cetera, then we might be able to get rid of Smart Futures, since the kids really didn't like Smart Futures, not to mention the cost of it. You know, that would be something, maybe not right away, but I would definitely think that would be something we probably should look into or think about. I mean, only based, like I said, on what we've talked about in the past in terms of, the kids not really liking it. I mean, and if it's a place that we're just using it to house something, I can't imagine that we couldn't come up with something that then we wouldn't have to spend the money on it. That's all. Those were my 2 thoughts just in when I was looking at
Rebecca,
the whole thing.
And you
Rebecca,
read
just
my
give me 1
mind.
minute. So, and
Excellent, Rebecca.
so having a mechanism that is a warehouse for those career workforce standards is really, really important. There's a bunch of different options, right? So Smart Futures is just one platform. I am not a proponent of students learning through platforms like that. I think our teachers are more valuable than our programs. However, the mechanism of being able to upload it into PIMS and kind of do our PDE reports is something that we need. So we would need some mechanism, but if we're not using the courses, I'm wondering if the Smart Futures price comes down if we're only using it as that warehouse. I'm not sure. We can certainly shop for others as we move away from Smart Futures offering the instruction and our teachers doing the instruction. But I agree with you, but I do want to just say, having that warehouse is incredibly important, and it just makes our reporting so much faster.
Excellent. Thank you.
And then Rebecca, sorry, I stepped on you.
No, that's okay. And I was going to say the same thing. If this was going to replace Smart Futures, because I know we've complained it for a couple of years. One, students hate doing it and they don't really get much out of it because they're going through the motions, but not fully vested in it. So my thought process is this class, I think kids will be more vested in it because it's more real life. It's more hands-on. It's, hey, you know, you're head of household now. What does it look like? Do that. Whereas Smart Futures, it was just click, click, click. Yeah, all right, what, click. And I don't think they got as much out of it. So I'm excited the fact that we're doing more hands-on and it's going to be more real life. You know, how do I get a mortgage? How do I do this? How do I choose the right career based on this? That makes sense to me. And I was asking the same question that Anne was asking is there a way to lower the cost of Smart Futures, even if we do need to do it as a holding cell for the information so we can do the PDE reports, which are super important, because if we don't do that correctly, our course is, you know, not going to do what it needs to do if we can't report it the right way. But there's got to be a cheaper version because we pay a lot of money for Smart Futures. And we were told in the past that this is the best out there. This is what there is. And this is why we do it. So I don't know. I just went by what I was told. But I think that if we're going to start implementing more classes like this and doing more with partnering with our counselors to actually get things done that would normally be done in Smart Futures. And even with the dual credit and the tracks, you know, the allied health, the education, that also fits into the Smart Futures with the career choices and career readiness. So that's another reason to step back from everything that Smart Futures offers.
Yeah, let me dig into Smart Futures more.
Yeah, I mean, and really, you know, with past history, we had the careers was in guidance, and we had a guidance counselor who was the career person, you know, and then as we lost counseling, you know, counselors in secondary, we then moved to purchasing something to kind of make up for that. Plus, then we had to actually do artifacts and stuff. I mean, we were like really ahead of the game in East Stroudsburg because we did all that before, you know, it became mandated actually. So definitely, you know, that expense, and I think moving it back to teachers, you know, with hands-on, I think is wonderful and definitely the way to go for sure. So thank you.
And one other thing just to mention as far as the cost goes with the Smart Futures, right now it's where that course will be offered for the class of 2029, but we still have additional classes that we have to report junior year that all of their content is going to be saved into there. So we're going to have students that we are currently utilizing that for the classes of like the class of 2028 and the class of 2027 that we are still going to have to report on. So that may be a long term, as everyone mentioned, but right now in the building, I would be very apprehensive to lose some of those lessons and data and information that's already in the warehouse.
So any other questions on the personal finance side of our proposition? I know we've centered on that career education to work. As you think about that, then I wanted to just approach you with the offering right now. What we're recommending is a two-stage process, right? Something we're calling personal finance 1 in 9th grade, personal finance 2 in 11th grade. And when we did that, we took a card from the School Board Policy 214, which is class rank. And class rank has a very specific way of saying, if you're an entry level elective, you award it this weight. If you were, the second sequential class after that, you award it this weight, etc. That is how we came to having personal finance 1 be the college prep and personal finance 2 be honors. Interestingly enough, our chairs then approached us and said, we understand that, but these aren't electives anymore. And we said, oh, yeah, well, they're not. And these are actually not, these are required courses. And so in our required course track, what we do when we have courses that are not entry-level electives, but they're required courses, is we start with the applied level, and then we have college prep and honors, etc. So their suggestion to us, even though we on this sheet to you had suggested that second one would be personal finance 2 honors, they've come to us and said, hey, could you see if you can see your way to calling those cores and not electives, because indeed they are required, then we suggest that the college prep label be applied to both and there not be a differentiation, which I could see it both ways. So we thought, why not open it up to you and have you chime in and see what you think of those design decisions?
My reaction to that is definitely one, obviously the first course BCP. And the fact that it's mandated, it's not technically going to affect rank in the sense that everyone is on the even keel, because, years and years and years ago, when our electives were not CP, they were all applied. That's when we had so many students not opting for certain electives because they were concerned about their rank, obviously, in GPA. So when that moved to CP, and then we made the decisions to go with level 2, if there was no level 3, to be honors. So in not making this level 2, where there is not a level 3, a non-honors, is interesting. You know what I mean? Because it does go against the philosophy from before. But the only difference is those were indeed electives, where this is a core. So, and we recognize that in our core classes, the difference, from among really applied through honors, we do that because of what our students, are capable of or not capable of. So I can understand, truthfully, not making everyone honors, because if we're really going to make the expectation and the result of projects, et cetera, that are going to happen on an honors level, can every single one of our students, achieve at that level? You know what I mean? And with difficulties and so forth. So I'm not necessarily opposed to creating a 2-level or 3-level tier if it indeed is going to be a core course, because we're mandating it. I mean, that was really quite astute of our department chairs to pick that out, because I didn't think of it myself, just because thinking of it as an elective, but indeed, once we mandate it, it's not anymore, it's a core. So really good question.
Rebecca.
I was just going to ask, similar to Anne. So is it like a core class, like a required class, like an English, a social study, like a US history? Well, those are offered on all 3 levels, but we're only offering them on CP for 1 and honors for 2? Or are we going to kind of blend them where if we know the child is like mix the class, but if they're applied, they're held to one standard within the class. If they're registered as CP, they'd be held to a different standard in the class. And then if they're honors, they choose to take out honors, they're held to even on a higher standard? Or is it just going to be flat? It's this or it's that?
So we were basically asking, do we want to follow the elective path of that the first level course would be CP and then the second level would be honors? Or because we are saying that this is now going to become a graduation requirement, would we want to offer both courses on the 3 different tracks and track students by it? I honestly, not that anybody's asking my opinion, but I'll throw it in there. I think we should offer all 3 levels, because it is a course. So we're saying it's as important as English. This personal finance course is as important. So I think that we should track by it.
Agreed.
And still meet all of the expectations of the state for career workforce standards and personal finance standards, but offer those 3 levels. That's just my opinion.
That's
No,
where I
I
was
agree. That-
going with that,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
English we offer, and I don't
Okay.
want to make a kid
All
feel
courses.
like, oh my God, I'm in an honors level class. I can't do that work. I've never taken honors before. And instead of setting them up for success in their minds, they're setting themselves up for failure rather than success. And that's the last thing I want to do to a student. Because when you see honors and you think, oh my God, that's hard. But then if you're an honor student, you see CP, you're like, oh, what a cakewalk. I can't believe they're making me taking a CP class. It goes both ways. And I want to make sure that when we offer this, we're offering it on the level that where the child needs to be, not where we think they should be.
Right. I
If
agree
that makes
with you.
sense.
Yeah,
I agree
totally
with
So-
you.
I have 2 thoughts on that. I absolutely, I like it as the core and I understand the levels. The 2 considerations is, one, we're talking about career education and work standard. In other words, what do we need to do for career, college, and work? And so I think it is, and I think the chairs would agree with me if they were here, that not differentiating between applied and college prep is appropriate, that they could do this at a college prep level, even for our applied students, because the material is about college prep. It's about getting ready for career, college, and work. Just a consideration, they came to us and said that they thought college prep would be okay. The second thing, consideration from a scheduling perspective, yes, we will have a number of sections for that, but as a scheduler, now when we are dividing that by those 3 different levels, scheduling becomes more difficult, because now we've got a limited amount of honor sections, a limited amount of CP sections, and a limited amount of applied sections. So just from being a high school scheduler, for so long, I think for me, a good maybe in between would be to offer CP and honors at the 2 levels. And then that would, I think, resolve the chair's concern and what they're championing, and help Ms. Polemounter too in her scheduling, and Mr. Stokes. Just my thoughts.
So
Oh,
with that, what I was
Go
saying
ahead,
before
Rebecca.
is you can mix the class, but the teacher would know, even if like the CPs and honors were mixed together, and I was a CP, but Dr. Vitale was honors, she would have maybe higher expectations on a project than I would, but nobody would know the difference except for the teacher who was doing the grading.
Right, and I mean, sorry, Debbie.
That's okay. I was just going to say, I think that the titling of it, to Rebecca's point, is important too. If it has an honors tag on it, you're going to see kids set themselves up for failure because they feel overwhelmed with that thought. Now, if there's a way to say this particular course, then you can choose this track in that class or that track, that might be easier. It could be the same classroom, but there would be the expectation from an honors student that they're going to have to meet a higher standard in some way. That's just my thought.
Yeah, so I thank you, Heather, for bringing up scheduling. I'm sure Amy lost a few years of her life just thinking about those 3 different courses. I would be comfortable doing a CP and an honors, and then reevaluating and looking at student success at the end of next school year and seeing if we do need to differentiate it down even more. But what Rebecca's saying is absolutely right, is when you have 25 kids in front of you, you differentiate based on their needs and you meet them where they're at. So some students might be doing college applications. right? That Common App, some students might be doing job applications, and we're still filling out an application process. It's the same process, but there's ways to differentiate between that. So are we comfortable with the CP and an honors? See how it rolls?
I
Yeah.
am.
Okay.
I mean, and you know, if the chairs who recognize this, obviously, right from the beginning, if that was their suggestion as well, then I don't see that being a problem. My question would be, and I think it doesn't have to be answered tonight, but you guys, in the school have to answer it. Are you going to, yes, we will say it's a CP course. And are we therefore giving students, let's say, who normally would be in applied, and they're the ones filling out the job application, let's say, and I'm sorry, I'm stereotyping a little bit, as opposed to the CP kids who are doing the application for college? Are we going to say, well, they're both applications, so therefore, as long as they do those successfully, they're getting the CP credit? Or are we saying that we are going to have different expectations in terms of whatever the project is for each level? Because then, even though they might be housed in one classroom, kind of like we do with accounting 3 and 4 as an example, the students themselves, as well as the teacher, obviously, would have to know if they are in personal finance applied or personal finance CP. Do you know what I'm saying? Or are we just saying, yes, it's going to be CP. Everyone, the expectation is the same, because you're all going to get the same grade and get the same credit for it as CP course as opposed to an applied course. So yes, teachers differentiate. I mean, they differentiate all the time. Even within an honors class, you differentiate. You know what I'm saying? But that's very different than differentiating because you're giving, this group of kids on an applied level and this group of kids on a CP level, because the expectation is different and therefore affecting their GPA differently. Do you see what I'm saying?
I
To me,
I do. Those are two different propositions.
that distinction has to be very clear. One, before even, with the program of studies, and then obviously with the teachers themselves and the students themselves with their parents, as they're choosing the appropriate level for themselves.
What I think
That's
I
my
heard us say is
thought.
CP. Those are what we're offering it at the CP level with CP expectations, both in what it is that we teach and the outcomes that we expect from students. And then at the end of the year, we'll, like Dr. Vitale said, we'll evaluate and say, was that attainable for students in there who may have had to work a little bit harder to get to that point? Or do we need to say, wow, maybe we do need to differentiate. But my understanding is right now, CP expectations at the CP level.
Okay.
I think go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm still thinking about it. I can't say I probably can go either way, but my only concern is that these are students who are also new to high school. And so, if they've been getting considerable help, kind of like on the applied level, if you will, when they are in middle school and then they come to the high school and it's a big transition as it is, and then your expectation is that they're CP. My concern is their stress level, 1, and 2, then their ability to be successful with those standards. That's all. I mean, like I said, I'm not sure. That's just something I think about, because we do even offer the NTS S course for some of our freshmen who are, we call it study strategies or whatever, in the program of studies, that transition. But that course is for students who we're concerned, to help them be successful, so that, one, they're, overall not dropouts, but also are being successful in their freshman year. So it's my only concern in offering it, on a level that may or may not meet their needs.
Just something to make you feel a little bit better. As being a teacher of ninth grade introduction to business for 10 years in my career, That course was 90 minutes, and we all, like right now as a scheduler, I offer 8 blocks of introduction to business. We have on tallies alone, I have about 180 kids that are taking that course, and it is all levels. So as a teacher, you did have to differentiate. So for example, I used to teach a checking account. So where I might have had an honors kid, there was a simulation that would be able to really have them do 12 months and that they had to see all different types of scenarios. But at the end of the day, the applied student still needs to know how to keep a checking account. So lowering the standard that they still didn't learn the same content scared me because we're not preparing them for that. So where instead of having them do the 12 months, I would be able to differentiate with the 10-month simulation. And maybe instead of some of the more complicated transactions, they would be more on level. So the expectations of learning and the learning objectives were the same for all students, but the level of what the assessment was being graded on may be adjusted based on the student within your classroom. And I know both North and South have very similar situations on how students are enrolled in that class. So I feel that our teachers are equipped to be able to provide the necessary differentiation for students depending on the level. And knowing that we don't know what their trajectory is. We don't know if that applied student is going to college. I wouldn't want not to teach that student how to fill out that application. But like I said, they may decide, well, I want to look at Northampton. I may want to look at Yale. We had kids do that at those different levels. But that's where I feel like the teacher having a class size like we do for a lot of our electives, which a lot of kids, it brings in those different perspectives, and the teachers will be the ones doing the differentiating.
I think that's great, especially if the fact that we do have personal finance already, as you just said, that, the teachers can share even to North and South and make a bank of activities and assessments, that are more appropriate, for each level, all the way through, honors through. So, okay, that's good. Thanks, Heather. And Amy, thank you for the clarification.
Becca, you had your hand up?
Yeah, so what Amy said was similar to what I was trying to ask, but I guess she articulated it better than I did. So for example, like a class like that, it's offered on all 3 levels, but I may be in the class as applied, Heather may be in the class as CP, and Anne may be in the same class as honors, but the same class, but the teacher knows because what level the kids are at, and we'll teach it to that level, and they can still grade them if that's what I was understanding. Because if we can have one class, but if they're registered as CP, for example, versus applied versus honors, the teacher will know on what expectation, whether it be a 12-month checkbook, a 6-month checkbook, a 3-month checkbook, a balancing it, or a more complicated budget versus a more basic budget. Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh, so it's not, so we're saying we would have a CP level and we would have an honors level. And students would be in one of those 2, and then teachers would differentiate based on keeping the same standards, but maybe different assessments, different assignments for different students. But no, it wouldn't be that
It
all
wouldn't be a
3.
combined class.
No,
It'd be
that's
one or the
not
other. Okay.
correct. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
And I just want to truly thank the business department, Amy and Heather, for all of their work. They came and they presented adding 2 teachers to the budget. And I sat there and was kind of like, my head was imploding as I was sitting at in the boardroom that night saying, we can't keep adding faculty right now. So they went back to the drawing board and they were super creative and thought of how to really maximize this course so that it meets a lot of standards, meets our students' needs, and is not kind of a stress on the budget. So thank you for just listening to me being creative and doing the work. So just know you're appreciated.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything to say about personal finance before we move on? Okay. All right. In which case we'll go down to our program of study changes for the 25-26 school year. And that's also Heather.
And before we start, Heather, if I can take some of your spiel, I want to identify that the program of studies is not perfect, and it is not what I think Heather and I would have presented in a perfect world. if her and I worked together from August on. There are some things that need to be cleaned up, but because of the timeliness and we want to get this out to students and allow them to make informed decision makings, we're presenting something that we recognize needs work. And as the new assistant superintendent comes on, as Heather respectfully goes off into her retirement and we transition to a new director, this will be a significant task of just overhauling this and providing a higher level of consistency, making sure that it aligns with the class rank policy, all of those kind of things. So we know there are errors, call them out, we see it, and we're going to own it, and just say that we're going to continue to improve upon it because our students and our teachers need us to have a really, really cohesive program of studies that we're offering them. Okay, Heather, go ahead. I just wanted to launch that off for you. You're muted.
Okay. When I shared it, got rid of my mute button. I was like, where is it? So I just want to very quickly respect your time, but also know that my flight starts boarding at 6:40. So I have a hard stop at 6:45. My husband is already texting me. So I just wanted to let you know that. So I will try to be succinct. What you have is our two different documents. The changes to the program of study is a 2-page document, and linked at the very top is then the draft of the 25-26 program of studies that we have worked in the last couple of months. What you see is a summary of all the different things that we changed. Instead of going through line by line, we have summarized those for you and some of the decisions that we made in terms of improving the look of it and improving the flow of it, especially for consistency. There was a lot of inconsistency. There are at least 3 or 4 things that are bigger that need to be decisions that need to be made in conversation with more than just Dr. Vitale and myself. New team needs to come on board. And so her preamble was spot on, right? You may see things in here and say, well, why didn't they take the chance to fix that now? Because some of those are larger discussions that we need to have with a group of people. So what we've focused on is anything that we thought did not match up with board policy, anything that was as a result of the curriculum cycle updates that we're going through right now, and then anything that chairs and department chairs suggested, even though they're not in a cycle year, they may have said, could we please revise this wording? We're not comfortable with it. And those minor changes we're happy to make in a non-cycle year. We do update the cover page yearly with different dates in collaboration with the 2 schedulers. We've updated course titles so that we have a sequential levels. Our levels start with applied, then move to college prep, then in honors, according to grade, roughly in grade, because we know that there are many courses that are offered that multiple grade levels can take. And then we had a mix of Roman numerals and Arabic numerals, and we just decided we're going to do Roman numerals throughout. So personal finance 1 and 2, for example, you'll see now a Roman numeral 1 and a Roman numeral 2. So those are just consistency things. For the business department, you'll see there that provisionally we have added the changes that we're proposing to make according to the presentation that Amy just made. As part of the curriculum cycle cleanup, what we do is we look at chairs and our department at courses that haven't run in a while, or courses that are very low enrolled. Do we still need to do them? Are they still pertinent to career paths that students can select after they leave us? And so you'll see that as a department, they've eliminated computer applications. They were actually removed years ago when Mr. Moran was here, but they persisted in the program of studies. And now that it's their cycle, we can remove that. And then the career skills class was really only offered at one of the schools, and it is, by all intents and purposes, for all intents and purposes, a special education class. So that is what it became, and we decided that that's how it needed to be reflected. Family and consumer science, they are also in their curriculum cycle year right now. They have a number of no or low enrolled classes, and so they made some decision. They reduced the everyday living, as you heard from Amy, from 1 credit to 0.5 because a lot of the career standards were in there. They eliminated the child development 3 internship. It hadn't run in years. Eliminated creative crafts due to staffing. We just don't have enough teachers to cover all of our family consumer science classes that students really, really want to take. And then they made minor wording changes to those courses listed and major wording changes to the description of independent living. Again, the teachers made these as they were writing curriculum, and I update it in the program of studies. In science, then, we added the Introduction to Engineering course, thanks to your approval a few months back of proceeding with that, writing that new course. We updated the course description, so all of the curriculum that you see listed on the one-pager that you got from Patricia, all of those course descriptions now should match everything that is in the program of studies. We updated prerequisites. We updated forensic science. Forensic science is one of those courses that have either no enrollment at one school or low enrollment. And so one of the options that Dr. Vitale agreed to let us do is something that we did at Westchester all the time. And that was when we do have low enrollment, then we move to an every other year offering to try to drive that enrollment up, right? So when students say, oh, I really wanted to take this, well, you can't take it this year, but take it next year. And that way, it builds that class enrollment up, and there's a higher chance of it being able to be run. So we did that with forensic science. And what we'll do is after the 6-year cycle is over, we'll look at it again. And if again, it hasn't run, then we make the decision to go ahead and cut it. World language then, they are also updating their curriculum right now, but they were updated to mirror what they're currently teaching and to include the ACTFL standards. If you know, we have world language standards, PDE has them, but they are not required. And every language program that I've been in, my 5 school districts, world language departments have chosen to go with the ACTFL standards instead. They're just much more comprehensive. The non-curriculum cycle updates, English gave us a number of updated wording in some course descriptions, and then added one missing description. Somewhere along the way, one was completely omitted and not sure why. We do run the course, and we have it listed, but we don't have a description. So we made sure to put that back in. We returned the wording for yearbook production 1 and 2. For some reason, that had been omitted too. So we made sure that that was put back in. And then on this one, English, the 3rd bullet, and the next one, math, the 6th bullet, I don't believe appear on the copy that you received. We realized at the last minute that for some reason, the Northampton English 12 and Northampton Mathematics 12 courses that we have run for the past several years, for some reason, had been in the program of studies and it was no longer there. So we went back, found the wording, and returned it to what it was. Mathematics, you can see we updated prerequisites. We changed the order of the offerings to be by ascending ability level. We updated all course descriptions to match any course that was board approved last year. Essential mathematics was one of those courses, again, like forensic science, that was no or low enrolled. And so we moved that to an every other year situation. And we removed multimedia from the mathematics department because it is no longer taught there. And lastly, in social studies, they had some minor wording revisions. Well, they actually had some major wording revisions, but we let them know thank you, and you've just started your curriculum cycle, and so you'll be able to make those big changes when you go through the cycle and make sure that they match with the courses that they wrote. So I know that was kind of a furious pace, but I've linked the page is there for you to go see in the program of studies. You may notice in the program of studies that there's wording that is separated and it seems awkward page to page. We don't make those things, those changes until all of these changes are made, because you'll see there's a lot of strike throughs in there. So when I eliminate all those strike through paragraphs, it'll repaginate everything anyway. And so I'll have to go back through and make sure then that it makes sense from page to page. There's not an awkward in the middle of a sentence kind of pause. Questions for us?
I have a few. Just curious as to why the math applied courses are NCAA approved, but English, science, and social studies are not. My understanding years ago was all applied was a no for NCAA. So when I saw
It
it
is-
just under math, I was just wanted to make sure
Yep.
that was correct.
That's a good question. And I actually think there is a little box in under the NCAA section that addresses that. NCAA has said that the applied level math only are okay for NCAA. And we've checked that with Jay Cool is our kind of representative. He does our checking with NCAA. So we do know that that is correct. It's odd, but it is.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very
Heather,
Okay. Good to know.
on page 17, on the approved courses for NCAA, applied math is not listed on that breakout page.
Thank you.
So don't take notes. You have to run to your plate, but I will email you that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Yeah, and then the 11, this is English, 11 AP, they do have a prerequisite of summer reading, but that was left off. And I just think that's one that's important because that's the first year of the 2-year program. And a lot of kids either opt to take it or not sometimes because of the summer reading requirement. So that was my thought there. Studio broadcasting, I don't know if it still is, but it always was Studio Broadcasting 1, Studio Broadcasting 2, because they could take it more than 1 year, similar to yearbook, accounting, et cetera. So I just wanted to make sure that was the case. I know, I mean, it's written under both English and technology. And it always has been because there's always an English teacher and a technology teacher in the classroom. I know South lost the English teacher in the classroom, and I'm asking next year that the English teacher be put back in the classroom. Only because, again, we want to be consistent with North, and North has their English teacher there. And when the curriculum was written, obviously they're writing scripts, they're editing scripts, they're performing. So there are both the standards that are in English as well as the standards that are in technology. So just kind of offering that as a comment for whatever. And I have a couple of things about the intro to engineering, but I'll wait till DJ presents that on its own.
Heather, you go run. I will take notes and field questions to the best of my ability.
I appreciate it. Thank you so
Have a
much.
safe travels, Heather. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. And shout out to those science teachers. I'm so excited. I'm sorry I'm going to miss your presentation because they're super stoked to tell you about all of the work that they've done over the last couple of years. And they've been fantastic partners. So I can't say enough about the 3 of them. They're just a wonderful team. So thank you guys.
Travels.
Thanks, Heather. Anybody else have any questions, concerns for the program of studies?
Sure. I just had just a couple questions on the draft revision for creative crafts under the that portion there. Is that been removed and then I guess put into in some way? Sorry, I don't know why this is going off. In any of the other classes that we have, was there just a drop in enrollment? I didn't see anything mentioned about creative crafts. I just seen it just removed from the course of studies.
I think Heather had said that it was eliminated due to staffing, in that trying to provide the other courses, we don't have enough family consumer science teachers to offer it.
Okay, that's what I thought. And then the last part was, it's always been, and I know it doesn't necessarily always reflect it in here, but I just want to verify that our junior high students will still have access to the high school level course of studies um, when they're entitled to taking those classes.
Yes. So do you mean like Algebra 1 in 8th grade?
Well, I know when my kids went through, they did Algebra 1 and 7.
Right, yes.
Right. I just want to make sure we're still affording that opportunity for those students to be able to take those courses and, first year language courses as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions about program of studies? All right, thank you.
Okay, excellent. Then we will move on to high school science curriculum first look. I'm going to assume our three chairs will head that for us.
Do you guys need me to do anything, or are you gonna take the reins and drive the train?
Is it okay? Am I able to share if I hit start
I
share?
believe that you are a panelist.
Very good.
You.
Give a confirmation that you're able to see and hear me.
We can see and hear. Thank you, DJ.
Thank you so much. Hi, my name is DJ Scott. I'm a teacher at South High School. First, before we get started, we just want to say we appreciate administration for your guidance and everything. Heather helping out and all this stuff. I'll be remiss not to recognize my two colleagues, Lori Soskell from High School North, absolute rock star that helped put so much of this stuff together. Missy Hughes, who's also down at the South High School. Again, these and I need to recognize the entirety of all secondary science teachers. This has been a 3+ year of hard doing it, but really a 5-year plan of doing this. And to reach this night is kind of a moment of celebration and I think a sigh of relief for all of us to get to this point and have something that we're so very, very proud of at this point. So again, we're here to present tonight the secondary science curriculum proposal to EPR. Now, this is for a variety of courses. We know that you have a night full that you would like to discuss curriculum, but we are sparing you all of those details and we're just sharing some of the items that we'd like to go over tonight. So first off, our goals in writing this and the reason why we did this was ultimately the alignment of district curriculum to new Pennsylvania science, technology, engineering, environmental literacy, and sustainability STEELS standards. There's a term that gets thrown around a whole bunch, STEELS standards, and that's what it's for. That STEELS standards shift involves words like phenomena-based, students being scientists and things like that. And the reason why we're doing that is Pennsylvania has an implementation date of August 2025. So that's why we're at this point. Ultimately, we're using career readiness guides all decisions in the curriculum which was written, thinking about students on their lives outside of the classroom. These new standards are phenomena-based learning paradigm shift. So what does that mean? It's a switch from traditional students talking about science to students becoming scientists. The original PA standards talked a lot about content. Now there are measurable terms and means in which students are doing science in a scientific environment. And most importantly, we kept the idea that science for all in our philosophy, making science available to all. So much we see of ideas of students in AP and high achieving learning and things like that. But we really took moments and times to write science for all learners, to allow all students to do science. As we engage in this, again, this is a long process. What did we do to make it happen? There was multiple freshman development opportunities. We attended a Da Vinci Center-led phenomena-based learning from administrators' perspective on how is this going to be evaluated by administrators. We had members of the departments in the Teacher in the Workplace program to talk to industry stakeholders and community members about what they look for in soft skills in scientists. We participated in multiple professional development opportunities. One through the IU, in 2 different sessions, which set a whole bunch of people to it. There was a symposium at ESU held by the Pennsylvania Science Teacher Associations on a Saturday that we had people attend. We attended a luncheon by vendors to do this, and we even had some department members take graduate courses on phenomena-based learning, which is this whole paradigm shift to try to make us more aware of this shift in philosophy. So in doing this, we had collaboration between all district secondary teachers and curriculum stakeholders. It was an alignment between North and South teachers. We can say and Lori being at North and Missy and I being at South, there was conversations that were awkward, but they were needed and meaningful. And we have alignment, we could say now, between North and South about what is being done, what are we asking of students, and how are we asking them to be measured in these accomplishable goals. In doing so, we reviewed multiple texts, physical texts, online resources, even open source resources, from multiple publishers to see what was most needed for our students. Those textbooks were criticized for their ability to be modified and adapted for individual learner needs, and thinking about students with exceptionalities and thinking about how we can best help students. All curricular resources that are recommended match the current Steele's paradigm shift. We had multiple publishers that we found great deals in and were pushing for us to work towards publish, but they did not align with the new standards. And we unfortunately had to say no way. And everything that we have submitted to you was vetted and evaluated, which we believe is best for students. And we realized that we need to have the ability for all resources. They were evaluated for language accessibility for all students, to make ELL students available, all reading levels available. Having language accessibility and working on language skills for all students in all levels. And so what does that look like? So this curriculum was written for 24 courses on 4 different academic levels. And if you need something to make you sleep at night, following those links and reading all of those things, if you're tired of C-SPAN, this would be great to do. And in that, you see a variety of different levels, right? And all of them having great standards, measurable ideas, and all those things along the way. And we were very fortunate to have a supportive board. Again, it was mentioned earlier, and we just want to thank you again for construction of a new elective, or Intro to Engineering course. But in all things, there's future opportunities and obstacles. So members of the secondary science department are currently reviewing all ESACA courses for alignment. So not in just a brick and mortar schools, but how do the ESACA students, those students enrolled in ESACA, how are they meeting the Steele standards? So we're currently working with the ESACA school to see how those are being aligned. We're working on continued development of each course plan in alignment with the course curriculum. So again, we're presenting the course curriculum. We are indeed working on the course plan. Several staff are registered to attend the National Science Teacher Association, also called NSTA convention in Philadelphia in March. And hopefully we can get more information, more great ideas, more resources, and bring it back. And we continue to hold conversations with community members about the curriculum and what is most needed for our students. And we would be remiss not to say that it is indeed our professional recommendation to increase the science graduation requirement from 3 science credits to 4 science credits. Again, thank you so much for your support in everything that we've done. At this moment, I will try to unshare my screen if I can remember how to do that.
Thank you,
Thank you.
DJ, Lori, Missy, and all of the science teachers, those listening, and those, please give our thanks to all of them at your next meeting. We know how time-consuming this is. Also, just in terms of venturing, into new waters with this Steele's curriculum. I have taken quite a few hours actually to begin to read through it all. Particularly obviously the engineering one, because that's the newest one. And I just want to thank you all for your hard work, and having worked with all 3 of you, obviously I know the quality of work that you always put forth, but I just wanted to say thank you as a board member, and for our students, that you do such a great job for our students in our community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to have any comments or questions?
I was just going to say, as a parent and a board member of a future almost engineer who has 1 year left, I'm super excited for this class. I did peruse over the curriculum, and I really think what you're offering is a good foundation for what students need. Like I forced my son to take CAD, computer aided drawing, because he's an engineer, and he actually said to me, I still email my CAD teacher from high school sometimes to help me with my college class. So it's really cool. So I'm really excited for this, because it's just a great foundation and could get kids that might not think about the engineering career as an engineering career and be like, wow, I didn't know it was all about this. Because engineering isn't just what they think. It could be systems engineering, computer engineering, civil engineering, environmental, mechanical, aeronautical. There's just so many aspects of engineering. And I think your curriculum really kind of touches upon that, which could, tweak the interest of a lot of kids that might not think about it. And most importantly, it's a foundation for those kids that go to take it, because a lot of the classes like that he took in high school at North really gave him foundations that he needed for what he had. Even as simple as the computer aided drawing, they have 2 classes that they're required to take. And a lot of kids never did it. And then they went to college and they were behind the 8 ball because they had, to learn things that he had already learned in high school. So by having these classes, I think we're setting our students up for success and giving them like these little nuggets of knowledge that will just help them have more confidence in college or even in the workforce to pursue certain things, like maybe go into a trade that's engineering based that they might not think about. So I think it's a phenomenal, and I'm super excited for it. Just wish it was here 4 years ago, but that's okay. We'll take it.
And if I could address that, I had multiple colleagues come up to me and said, "No, this is awesome that you did this and you're making this happen. Like I should get some type of credit for this." We need to say that this is a supportive board and a supportive environment, which we have. We're allowing teachers to allow opportunities for students, and that is refreshing. And again, hopefully we have more opportunities, like more introductory classes that lead towards pathways and experimentation of ideas. And thank you for everything.
So if I can just ask a quick question, Anne, if you don't mind. So science, thank you for your work on this. The steel standards definitely kind of rework this. I went through this process in my last district last year. So I feel like this is, I'm well versed in it, although only a first grade teacher by trade. So that was an interesting process for me. I just have a quick question. You had said, you dropped a little nugget in there that you're requesting 4 graduation requirements instead of 3. The way the curriculum is written, do the 3 required graduation standards classes meet all the steel standards, or do we need the 4th course for physics?
In writing the standards, we've written the standards so that we meet the standards which align within the course. We have not had a deeper dive into what standards students are leaving when meeting. Does that make sense?
DJ, can I interject?
Yes, please.
So keep in mind that right now students have to take 3 credits. However, truly biology is the only one that is the requirement for graduation. Typically students in 9th grade take their general science, and then they take their biology, 10th grade, but then they choose what their 3rd science is in conversation with teachers for recommendations based on their future goals. So for some students, that might be chemistry and then physics and all these other courses. But for another student who's maybe doing, like, for example, I have a student who's doing MCTI for diesel mechanics. That student opted for more of an environmental approach rather than chemistry, because there's flexibility in what that 3rd credit could be. And previously, before we were reduced to 3 and we were at 4, they still had that flexibility in that 4th. It was through conversation with teacher, student, and of course, parent.
Thank you. So does the general science course then meet all of those standards in those other sciences outside of biology? Or are we saying that some of the standards that's outlined in steels we're not addressing because we're allowing student choice for that 3rd credit?
I'll address that. Yeah, in the fact that it's student choice for that 3rd credit, there are, because it's, environmental literacy that's touched in our environmental science classes, while those deeper ideas of physics are not being touched if they're not taking physics in those final that only have taken the 3rd science, if that makes sense.
Oh, thank you.
And if you want to speak about more informally or have a deeper conversation, we're open to that conversation.
Just talking. Thank you.
DJ, just a question with the engineering. In the program of studies, it has it listed as the CP elective. But the curriculum itself, there's only one. And that is written, I'm assuming, in the applied level because it doesn't say CP. And then under the assessment section, it says at the CP level, we'll measure, blah, blah, blah. So I just wanted, and there was also no textbook listed. So I wasn't sure if, obviously you're still working on it because it's new. So that we're deciding on the text, and then that we will be writing one curriculum that's specific CP and one that's specific applied, just like we do obviously for all our other courses.
Yeah, that's at the discretion of the board for the levels. If you feel that it's most appropriate that we need to be written for CP, applied and an honors level for this course, that we can definitely, that can be written and accomplished. In terms of the text, right now we have three system pathways that share ideas. One is called Engineering for Tomorrow, and the other two names are escaping me right now, that we're using as guidelines that are put out by next generation science standards that go through things. Major publishers have moved away for physical textbooks for this course, but we do have other things out there. There are vendors out there that have kind of stolen that market. So finding a textbook for this was rather difficult. But if you need me to share more information on it, I can.
My concern is not so much that it's, that it's a textbook, or if we're doing digital, or you're doing, 3 or 4 different types of resources, that's fine. But as a board, we have to approve the resources. And those resources, when we're rewriting curriculum, have to be written into the curriculum, because that's how we approve quote unquote books, resources, materials, whatever it is. And I have read through, there's 24 courses, so I read through the engineering one first, and because it was new, so I wanted to, obviously the discussions that we had, and then when I didn't see like that, that there was a text or whatever, I did read through the first 3. I think they were probably freshman science, if I remember correctly. And I noticed in those opening, sections where it's just the one sentence, that's where we list the textbook. But on where the course standards, goals, et cetera, are, and there's the one column that's like materials and resources. Basically that's just repeated, in each of the courses without really listing any of the specific texts and or resources. Now I know you definitely always put in a line so that you can use, open sources or, things that come up obviously as you, go through the years, et cetera. But general texts and or resources online are things that that should be written in there, because that's the only time the board actually gets that's part of the policy that we approve curriculum and texts. So, and usually the only time we approve texts outside of the curriculum is when it's outside of the cycle and we're adding a new book. So then we have to go through that document that's like 2 or 3 pages that talks about why, which you don't have to do that when it's in the curriculum, because we're looking at the text with the curriculum. So I just want to bring that up. Not, it's, was the engineering course, but I also, like I said, I only kind of read through, the first 2 or 3 courses, in science. So that's all. I just wanted to, kind of make that statement.
No, thank you. And part of it was some of those resources are shared, or we have started compiling those in the course plan, that
Okay.
those things, and then but having some transparency in the curriculum as well. So
Yeah, and the only reason why I say that's something Dr. Vitale and the board, et cetera, or EPR will talk about, is in the policy, the plan, if you will, that you're all working on. That's something that gets shared with the board, but according to our current policy, but that we don't vote on, like we don't have to approve, because that's really you guys as teachers putting out like the scope and sequence, very, more specifically, obviously, than when you just have like 10 days or 14 days, for, each of your units like you have in the curriculum. It's more specifically what you're doing, what the skills are, what your pages are, whatever activities, those kinds of things. And that's not something that the board, approves, because you guys as teachers obviously are the experts in that. But what we have to approve is the curriculum and the texts, because that's what, is part of our job, obviously, especially with the books, with the curriculum, to make sure we agree with that. So that's why I bring that up, because that's the difference in the policy. And having been a department chair with you guys, we were never told any of that. And I didn't learn all of that until I became a board member. So, so I just want to share that now as a board member. I'm trying to obviously be conscious of that and make sure that it's being done correctly. So, but thank you. Appreciate it. Anybody else have any concerns, comments, questions for our science people? Okay, if not, then I believe
I
we
did,
are,
Anne,
oh, sorry, Deb.
I just wanted to thank them for taking all of that time to do significant research so that this is going to actually be applicable and a successful, they're on the road to success with it. So thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Thanks, Deb, because it's true. As we've said, you guys have, done a significant amount of work for sure. And just a whole change, in philosophy, when we moved to the STEELS curriculum is a little mind blowing. I think for high school teachers, maybe sometimes not even as much as in the middle school, because in middle school, they don't even have a lot of the experiments and things that, that are more hands-on, like that, at least that we see in the high school. So thank you so much. All right, but I think you guys are still on because we now have the high school science textbook selection presentation.
Were we supposed to present again? I apologize.
I didn't know if there was anything in particular about the textbook selection that you talk about, or
No, and I think under the agenda, our presentation was actually underneath the textbook part, but all our textbooks suggestions and the tallies and things have been forwarded to the curriculum office for the information. We don't have prepared tonight a formal list of all the books present. If you need that, we can email it to you with what we've sent to the curriculum department.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, then. I think we're officially done with the science part of this evening. Thanks so much again. Really, and please tell all the teachers, thank you. Appreciate your hard work. Thanks.
Science.
All right, we're going to move on then to Super Kids Transition. Dr. Bradley?
Yes, thank you. Again, grab my screen. And just enlarge that for you. Thank you for your patience, like everybody else. Feels like it's been an eternity since we've had to do this way. All right, and just move everybody down, and we're good to go. Oh, not share, sorry, wrong kind. Go. One more click, one more click. All right.
This is my everyday at work, being at a Teams meeting and presenting. Today I'm in person and I have a dinner coming up with my team, but normally I'm on a computer like this every day on screen, talking to people and presenting. And it's like,
Thanks, Rebecca. I needed that reinforcement. I really did. So I'm going to be sharing with you our transition plan that we'd like to propose to you for the next 3 years for our super kids and kind of why. So moving on to the next. Now, are you able to see it like I am?
Yes, I can see
Yes,
it.
Tabitha, keep going.
Yeah, but I'm hitting next and there we go. So sorry. Okay, so the history. The Super Kids program was written originally back in 1978. Since then, the publishers received feedback over the years through the success, usage, student outcomes, and also feedback that they have implemented from our East Stroudsburg teachers that we've seen the changes. This new version includes a more robust data reporting capability in the teacher admin portal, which was something that we were really asking for a long time, an updated online student experience, and a consolidation of the teacher resources and manuals in one place, just to name a few. So what is the plan that we're looking to do? Oh, so sorry. If you notice on the screen, we have updated characters as well. And so if you think about if I'm a student in kindergarten and I have the super kids on the left, and then I go to first grade and I have the super kids on the right, there's some significant changes in terms of some of the super kids not being there, or new ones being added. So what I am recommending is that for the 25-26 school year, we begin with kindergarten with the new addition. Then in the following school year, we bring first grade on. So as they move up to first grade as kindergartners to first graders, they'll have that same set of kids. And then for the 27-28 school year, we implement it with second grade students so that they then get it for the third year in a row and phase out our original addition. And then 2028 and beyond would be all students using the new addition. This would also allow us time to support our teachers in a time when we're going to be moving to that STEELS transition, taking this one step at a time with each grade level. As far as the quote price is concerned for the implementation for kindergarten next year, you'll see on tonight's voting measures, a quote in the third column there for $93,872. That was after 3 rounds of negotiations. You can see where we started and where we ended with the savings of over $78,485. Let me ensure to you that that is not a reduction in deliverables or materials as that price went down. That was a partnership with the publisher to find creative ways to reduce the cost for East Stroudsburg, such as removing the $5,000 in shipping, which we know is always exorbitant amount that publishers can often charge because we need the materials delivered, and that's usually a large amount. So that's just one of the examples of the work that we put into it as a team to get that reduced for the school district. And then the yearly cost after that in consumables is listed on there as well. So that's pretty much the transition plan in a nutshell. I like to put this one up. This was a picture that one of the students drew when they did their Thanksgiving placemat when we first implemented, and they had placed on there that Super Kids was the thing that they were thankful for. So that's it for my part. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer them for you.
So basically, this is just updating what is already being used so that we have the newest editions, et cetera.
Correct.
And it's already budgeted through the curriculum
Yes.
budget.
Yes.
For next school year, correct? It's not budgeted this school year.
Correct.
It would be.
And it's not happening though to next school year either, correct?
I thought we got a free trial this year.
No, not with Super Kids. We did not get a free trial. Maggie, I think we do have it budgeted in this year because we needed to pay for it before April so that they could have the training. I have to go back and take a look at the notes. That budget month was a bit of a whirlwind, but I know we have it somewhere.
How would we have budgeted for it if you just got the quote the other day?
Oh, so sorry. Yeah.
So it's not budgeted for.
No, we put a chunk in thinking that we knew that this was coming.
What was in the budget?
Yes.
No, what number was in the budget?
Oh, so sorry. I still have my screen up. Can I stop sharing so I can see people?
Yeah, please.
I didn't. Okay. I'd have to go back. Like I said, that month of December with us going through everything, Heather and I don't have that in front of me. I wasn't anticipating that. So I apologize for not having that, but we could definitely check on that.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna ask one more time. So we're purchasing this for in the 25-26 school year, because when you did it in December, the work you did in December was next school year's budget, not this school year's budget.
December, Heather and I were building the budget for next year, and this was on the list of things that we knew that we wanted to. Yes.
Next school year. So it's coming out of next school year's budget.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So if we didn't purchase that, then what would the kids be using? Would they be using old materials? I mean,
They would be
So if
using.
I can, it has Tabitha, if you don't mind, so if I can just chime in. So Super Kids is our phonemic awareness program, correct? At the primary level.
It's our core instructional materials. Yes, K1,
Okay.
2.
So
all those.
they introduce characters through this program. And we have bought, so the curriculum department bought this for 6 years and we're halfway through it. So we own 6 years worth of these resources. However, Super Kids changed the characters in the program, and like students get introduced to them, they fall in love with them, and it's like the key part of the program. So if we don't do this, what will happen is that kindergartners will be introduced to characters that won't exist in the future programs. So we want to offer consistency for the students so that they don't fall in love with little Maggie and then little Maggie no longer exists in first grade.
That would be devastating if they didn't have little Maggie.
I know, I agree. So what Tabitha has done is Tabitha has really wagged her fingers at Super Kids and said, we made this commitment to you for 6 years. You're changing the program. We're not taking, I don't even know what the number was, $180,000. We're not doing that. And she's really negotiated very sternly and very strongly to get that cost down. But it is an additional cost that we didn't anticipate because they're changing the program on us. Now, there is a sunset process that we could choose not to do this, but it really would be our kids are going to fall in love with different characters over and over again.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. Anybody else have any other questions? Okay. All right, then we're going to move on to the state of the elementary schools, and that's also you, Tabitha.
Okay, great. Let me get back to sharing and get that for you.
Figure it out all over again, Tabitha.
I'm sorry. All right. Can you see the screen?
I can.
Yes, hooray. All right. So first of all, I want to thank my partner who isn't here, but acknowledge that Dr. Pipperato paved the way for us over the past 2 months to share her presentation with you on the high schools and then the intermediate schools. And so tonight I'll be sharing data from the past 3 school years, as she did, for the 21-22 through 23-24 school years. We'll also look at the ABCs, that academics, behavior, and classroom performance, but using elementary data points along the way. So this follows the format she used last month. We wordsmithed a few pieces on here that might not align, or Maggie helped me pull out some different pieces where we might not have some, we don't have maybe students late to class at elementary. So she helped me pick some pertinent data that we thought you would appreciate seeing at the elementary level. And then we'll just scroll through that. Those of you on the committee already had this in the report that Patricia shared. So I'll be just presenting it for the community to see then. So here are the areas that I mentioned, and then I wanted to share the key that our elementary schools, how we refer to them on the charts, and BOY, MOY, and EOY, beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year, when you see that on some of these charts. So first up is the building attendance percentage report. So going from left to right, you can see 21-22 school year through to the right, the 23-24 school year. And you will see the schools listed on each chart alphabetically, starting with Bushkill down through Smithfield. So that is their attendance. The next piece you will see is the habitual truancy report, and that does come from the safe schools. Everything's marked on there where the reports came from, and that habitual truancy is 6 or more unexcused absences. So that's where that percentage comes from. And again, these charts are the ones that our team should have in front of them. The next step is the attendance in Future Ready, and that's that 90-90 split where it's students enrolled for at least 90% of the school year and attendance 90% of the time. So that's why this looks a little different than some of the figures that you saw on the previous attendance chart. And then down building by building, taking a look at some of the actions and infractions. So the actions are the behaviors that the students had, and then the infractions, the consequences. The actions were the consequences that they had. So up at the top, you'll see the categories, and these will be the same each school. Again, you had this in front of you for the committee, but wanted to just be able to present that on the screen for the community as well. So we have Bushkill and we have ESC. I'm trying to leave it on for a minute, but I also want to acknowledge everyone's time this evening. JM Hill, Middle Smithfield Elementary. And again, they're broken down, behaviors at the top and then the consequences below. Happy to report no expulsions anywhere at any of our 6 schools at the elementary level. Resica. And I apologize if you hear clickety clack, that's a Chihuahua who can't jump, who has decided to wake up just in time for my presentation. So please, I apologize if there's extra sound in the background that you hear. And I will mute while I roll down here just to the next one, or just bring that down, and Smithfield Elementary as well. So those are our numbers for the 6 elementary schools. For classroom performance, I took a look at our Acadians, which is our universal screener for reading, and wanted to give you the percentage of students at or above benchmark, which is where we want them to be, right? And so this one is set up slightly different, this chart. You'll see on the left by grade level. You'll see the 21-22 through the 23-24 school years. There are some color codes on the right-hand side, just to say, was that school year, did the outcome, was it higher than the year prior? And so you'll see in green, that means it was higher than the year prior. And if it's pink, that means it might have gone down just a little bit from the year before. So we have kindergarten and first grade. Overall, mostly continuing to see those numbers increase, which is, we're very happy about, continuing to make progress towards getting to those goals that we have. 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade there. One thing I wanted to point out to you that is not 23-24 school year data, but is actually this school year, because it was very exciting. We just completed our middle of the year sweeps with Acadians with our reading team, and I was really excited to see that at least 30%. Now, this is above benchmark only above benchmark. So the highest level of outcomes that our students could have, all 6 grade levels had at least 30% of the students above benchmark. So if you think about, you're walking through the halls of our elementary schools, every 3rd student that you see is reading above benchmark in those hallways, even as high as 4th grade at 45%. So again, I know this was supposed to be a report on the last 3 years, but this is fresh off the press. And I really wanted to just shout that out, because I'm so proud of the work that our reading team and our teachers and our principals as instructional leaders are doing to help see these, growing students at all ends. And this is really almost, when you think about 4th grade, almost half of the students reading above benchmark. It's so close. So I'm really proud of that for our teachers and our students in our school community. Now, this last piece, PSSA is next up. This also only has 1 row of highlighting in the bottom. One of the previous charts I showed you, each year after the first, if it was higher and then higher the next year, they were highlighted in green. To keep this consistent with Heather's report, only the 23-24 school year is highlighted if it was higher than the year prior, but you can see that those are also growing from year to year as well, just because they might not be highlighted in 22-23, but continuing to see growth in many areas across our elementary schools in English language arts, and there again in math, and then finally science. So out of the 16 places there that we saw, continued growth from the year previously. So that was also very exciting for us to see as well as a district, and celebrate that. And then finally, this is the piece that Heather did not have on her report that I wanted to share with the committee. And that is the conversation that we have about transiency in our student population. And I really wanted to be able to put that in black and white, but that's not so easy to do. So Carissa Johnson worked with me to run reports to be able to compile the exact number of students that we had in our 5th grade class last year that actually went to East Stroudsburg area schools from kindergarten through fifth grade. So when they sat in fifth grade classrooms in the 23-24 school year, the year itself, class of 2031, sorry, let me fix that right now, I apologize. When they sat in front of us in the 23-24 school year, first of all, 400, I just thought this was interesting too. When we ran the report of how many students enrolled in fifth grade last year, it came out to 476 students enrolled throughout the year in fifth grade. At the end of that year, on the last day of school, there were 406 students sitting in our classrooms in fifth grade. And the number of those students that was with us all 6 years was 180 students. So 44% indicated in the gray, kind of at the bottom of this chart, those who were left, who had stayed here in our district for all 6 years. So I thought that was an interesting piece of data to talk about, or just, to bring up that for our team to talk about and think about how that impacts how we plan and design our instruction. So I will stop sharing so I can see all of your faces and wait to see if you have any feedback or comments about that data.
First, thank you for compiling all of that data very much. And like you, I was, it was interesting to see, how many students. I wasn't surprised. And actually, I, yelled to Michael, out of this many kids, how many you think were here all 6 years? And, we were pretty much right on target. So, it is, and that's part of what we have to do, as educators in this district, is to recognize that and, give the supports accordingly. So, but thank you for letting, of sharing that particular statistic for sure. Anybody else have any questions, concerns?
I was curious, Tabitha, from your ending number there, did you have a way to determine where the students who didn't stay went? Did they move? Did they go to charter schools? Did they do something else? I was just curious.
We can pull that data, because when they withdraw, there's a withdrawal code. That's a very specific code of where they're going, of whether it's another district, whether it's cyber charter, whether it's out of state. So we can dig into that data further. I agree. I want to know where they're going. So when Tabitha first rolled this data out, I'm like, it doesn't make sense that we had 476 students enrolled in fifth grade, and on the last day, where did 75 of them go? Or 71 of them go?
I was just curious, and to see if that's a ripple effect in other grades. In other words, did the family leave, so we lost 6 kids, or we lost only 2? And just out of curiosity, and perhaps it'll become useful down the pike.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good data point. Also, Tabitha worked on this data, and I'm really interested to see K-12. What percentage of our students are cohort from kindergarten to 12th grade? So who sustains with us for those 13 years? That's just an interesting data point to me. Not that we can do anything about it, but it's just intriguing to me.
Just Maggie, my thought was the 476 or whatever it was that we lost, like 70 kids to 406. I just thought maybe because it was the last day of school. Like, I know in the high school, when it's the last day of school, it's a half day. So I thought maybe that's where we lost them. I was more, when I was talking about the number, I was looking more at the significance of only 180, had been there from K through 5.
Right. And so that 406 is not attendance, it's
Oh, okay.
enrollment. So
Okay.
it's how many students were enrolled in the district, not how many students attended. So it's an anomaly to me. And if Tabitha remembers the meeting, I was like, wait, that number's not right. Because I kind of know how many kids are in each grade. And I was like, that doesn't make sense to me. And then we went and pulled the data again, and it's accurate. The 180 is the students who have persisted over that 6 years with us.
And that was the number. And that was the number I was thinking. In my head, I was thinking probably 200. You know what I mean? Like half.
Sorry, Ann. My understanding is that 70 they enrolled, but then we had maybe other kids move out. Right? That fluctuation we do hear often from our teachers. At 3 new kids this week. It's you know, we have constant change and that community building and everything that comes with that, right? When we have children moving in and out, and how to help our teachers with that.
But if you look at our 6th grade enrollment, it's around 475. So 5th grade last year was 476. 6th grade right now is sitting at 430. So like it's still different. So I just have to dig in. But yes, I want to see where they're going.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So basically we're into now any shout outs or a sneak peek. I noticed that you and Heather had. I don't know, she's not here, but if
Well, yeah, as a matter of fact, I did want to make a shout out to our East Stroudsburg Reading Department for their work towards moving to a digital administration of Acadience this year. That was what was formerly known as Dibbles, and then it was Acadience. We did it paper and pencil for many years, and we got to a point where the team felt we were ready to evolve last year. We visited another district that was using the digital administration, using a device to track the students in that assessment. And our reading team has absolutely stepped up to the plate. We had a lot of training last year. We had the IU involved heavily with sit behinds. We did some practice, piloting with that last spring in 2 of the buildings where the reading and MTSS chairs were housed, so they could be hands-on with that piloting rollout. Mary Kapolish and Jackie Doyle. And then we had the IU come again this middle of the year sweep and got really great feedback from them that folks were absolutely, it's really important that that's universal and it's done in a very universal way without deviation so that we can have as accurate of data as possible. And the IU said that our team did a fabulous job they visited all 6 schools and sat behind all of our reading specialists and paras to give them feedback and ensure that that was done with fidelity. And I want to acknowledge those folks for the work that they put into that, because it was a mind shift, you know, that security of having a piece of paper and pencil in front of you and knowing that you can go back and make notes and things. And what if, right? What if the computer crashes, or what if so a lot of preparing the team last spring for this year. Beginning of the year assessments were great, and then that middle of the year with the sit behinds from the IU. And just want to acknowledge the dedication of our reading department, as you know, to make that something that we were able to transition to so smoothly. And Heather did have a sneak peek, but I don't know what that was. I'm sorry, Maggie, do you recall what her sneak peek was? So to be continued. We'll have to catch that.
all right, thank you.
Yes, of course.
Do we have anyone on for a public participation?
I do not see anybody with their hand up.
Okay, which case then we'll move on to our recommendations for consideration to the board. I need a recommendation to approve the 2025-2026 program of studies as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I also need a recommendation to purchase the Super Kids Reading Program. The amount of $93,872 to be funded through now we said 24-25 curriculum and instruction budget. I don't know if we're changing that.
So moved. That's good.
Second.
Okay. Discussion, all in favor? Aye. You can
Aye.
change Dr. Vitalian, Dr. Bradley to whatever it needs to be in terms of the year. All right. And then our next meeting is March 6th, obviously via Zoom, hopefully in person. And the weather hopefully will cooperate a little bit again at 5:30. And that's it. Thanks, everyone.
Motion to
Thank you.
adjourn.
Today. Oh, thank you. Yes. Motion
Second.
to adjourn. All right. All in favor? Aye.
Bye.
Good night,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone.
Good night.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye. All right, we're done. Recording is gone. Yay. Okay. Okay, it says leave, but it's not leaving me. Why is that?